Welcome everybody back to the Inside Our Galaxy podcast. I'm your host, Eric Hernandez. As always, we got a couple preseason matches to talk about. Of course, there was one on Saturday against St. Louis, which was at Dignity Health Sports Park, where it resulted in a 2-1 loss. That one was our not the first preseason match that the Galaxy have had, but our first open to the public. So we're going to talk about that one. And of course, we had another one as of recording right now. We had one earlier today against Charlotte for the first match of the Coachella Valley Invitational. So we got two games to recap. We got a few other things outside of the matches, like rumors and moves and some Galaxy news here and there. And of course, we have another preview for a match coming up this Sunday on Super Bowl Sunday, so that should be a good one as well. So yeah, we got a few things to talk about, and let's just get everything started. Of course, with me as always is my co-host LA Galaxy Central. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Unfortunately, I did get sick, so if I do cough or my nose is bothering me, that's definitely why. So that's not great, but hopefully I'll recover soon. And yeah, it's good to be here. It's been a little bit of time since we last talked, and unfortunately, not a lot has happened with the Galaxy, but hopefully we can see some things start to happen soon.
Yeah, hopefully we can. Obviously, it was raining the past few days. How did the rain treat you? Where you
I didn't
are?
mind it, honestly. Like, I just stayed inside mostly, so it didn't really affect me too much.
Not gonna lie, I like the rain, but this time I hated it. It was terrible, man. Terrible driving through the streets. Basically rivers out there, soaking wet from my feet to like my kneecap or whatever, and it's just like it was terrible. My car flooded a little bit, so
Wow.
it was actually pretty bad when it came to the rain. Luckily, the rain stopped now, so we're good on that. But yeah, anyways, enough about the rain. Enough about that. We got some games to recap. Of course, let's start with the first one that happened on Saturday against St. Louis. Like I said, that one happened at Dignity Health Sports Park in front of fans and the public. So we end up losing that one 2-1. We got one goal scored by Diego Fagundes in the second half. When we started it out, there was a mixture of players who were starters and bench players, and in the second half we got to see a lot of G2 and academy players in that game. But 2-1. It was, I guess, a respectable performance considering that was their first match coming back, or their second match coming back. But how'd you feel about that game? What was your thoughts about St. Louis?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird game because, in my opinion, it was kind of like three games in one. Like, first you had like the Galaxy like A minus B team against the St. Louis A plus team. Then you had like the Galaxy B plus A minus team against like the St. Louis B team, and then you had the Galaxy C team versus the St. Louis C team. So it's kind of like three different games in just one whole game. So it was kind of weird to judge it, but still we saw some okay things. I think a lot still needs to be worked on. It sucks to lose at the end at the 88th minute, especially when there's no stoppage time to give up a goal like that. But it's not from first team players. They're learning. Things happen. But yeah, the result doesn't matter too much. We even talked about it. You're there to get fit. You're there to get chemistry. You're there to find out what works for you, what doesn't, what you need to work on and stuff like that. So the result's not the end of the world, but you would have liked to hold on to a tie, maybe keep that undefeated streak going, but it didn't happen. I guess it just is what it is. Either way, it was cool to be back in the stadium for the first time since October prior to that point.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, I was not there in attendance for that game, but I heard it was a good time. And like you said, it's been a while since, people have been to Dignity Health Sports Park and things like that. But, it was your early preseason game, right? A lot of guys looked rusty. A lot of guys didn't look like they were entirely in shape. So, you didn't get to see great things, but you saw some okay things, like you said. Of course, that Diego Fagundes goal was pretty good. Like, I think the first half, it was a bit of a struggle for the Galaxy, but once you got into the second half, I think that's when they started to, pick it up a little bit. And, you got to see it with that goal. It was a great assist by Cuevas, and just a great finish by Fagundes in that part. But yeah, you can't really judge it too much. And I think, for preseason, just in general, you can't judge it that hard because at the end of the day, some of these guys are getting fit. Some players didn't even play that game. And there's just a lot of things that, that happen in preseason games, coaches trying to find, different formations or move players around in different positions, even in positions that you wouldn't think that player would play in. So it's like, yeah, like there was some interesting things that happened in that game. Like you said, it sucks that we couldn't hang on to that tie, but it is what it is. And yeah, overall it was okay. Like I said, it was respectable for what it was for a preseason game.
It's fair, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, you know, let's talk a little bit about players. I guess we can talk about, like we said, there was a mixture of starters and bench players in this game. But anybody that stood out to you for these games for preseason?
Yeah, definitely. What's his name? Mickey Yamane? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Mickey Yamane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's looked really good so far in both of the games. We're going to get into the Charlotte one a little bit later, but Yamane has looked really good. We kind of questioned losing Caligari and like, could Yamane pick it up? Would he be good? And it's very early. He hasn't even played a regular season game yet, but he looks really good right now. I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing, and I'm excited to see him going forward.
yeah. Mickey Yamane definitely was one of those standouts as well. Yeah, he looked pretty good, and hopefully, with more minutes and more playing time, he gets even better than what we hoped for. But yeah, I think he was good. One player I think that some people were actually talking about, and for that match, and even a little bit for this match for the Charlotte one that we'll talk about later, was Tucker Lively. He gets his start. He was a draft pick this year, or well, technically last year, but going into this year. But yeah, our draft pick for this season. He didn't play that bad. I think it wasn't things that made you like it didn't wow you or anything like that, but it looked like he fit in. And of course, he was part of that part of the build up for the goal, so that was pretty good too. And usually I'm not too hype up about draft picks, but that one was Tucker for right now was like, okay, like I can see some potential in this one. Like and I think he has a shot to actually being in the first team, in my opinion at least. But yeah, that was one standout for me that was in that game. Um, for the St. Louis game, and a little bit too for the Charlotte one when we'll get into that one. I think Diego Fagundes also didn't have that bad of a game for the St. Louis one. Like I said, he got the goal, and he looks a little sharper, in my opinion, and I think that's a good sign because we did have questions for Diego Fagundes, and would he be capable of being sort of back to what he was in a few years ago or a couple years ago. So like I think that's a good sign to see that Diego Fagundes is having some sort of production in preseason. So that's another player that I would give a shout out for that game.
Yeah, another player that I'd probably give a shout to is Edwin Cedillo. He looked really good in that St. Louis game, kind of being Brigman's injury replacement last season, coming in to be a death piece. I think he's done a really good job so far of, really just connecting the passes, organizing the midfield. And I think that St. Louis game, he did a really good job. Charlotte was a lot more rougher, which we'll get into because I think he had a lot of turnovers. But for that St. Louis game, I think he had a really good game too.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think another thing for that Galaxy game, or at least for a little bit for both as well, was that I don't think St. Louis really had much production going through the middle or anything like that. I think the Galaxy did a very good job, having possession in the middle of the field and having them play out wide. And I think that was a good thing about the Galaxy, which is something that I guess we have struggled, recently, is that, we can't really, get control of the midfield or in the middle of the field and stuff like that. So I think that is a good sign. And the midfield did play very well for that one. Of course, we did get to see, like I said, G2 and Academy players. Anybody that stood out to you from the young guys in that game?
Not particularly. No, I would say no, not really. Not to
No.
disrespect any of them, but like I just wasn't too in on them. I was more focused on watching our first team players play.
Fair enough. Which, yeah, I mean, hey, you know what? The kids get some minutes, which is a good thing because you never know. One of those kids might be the future for the Galaxy, maybe in a few years down the line. But seeing those kids get minutes is a good thing. So yeah, no, I mean, they played okay as well as a group. Of course, they got the last goal in there, but they played okay for a bunch of Academy and G2 kids. So I'll take it how it is. Um, Anybody else that stood out to you for that game, or anybody else, or just anything in general from that game?
I would say Delgado kind of came out of the gate slow, like we talked about it last season. He was kind of struggling towards the end of the season. I think this preseason you can kind of see like he's still a little bit rusty and still has a lot of work to do to be that 2022 Delgado where he was a key piece of our midfield of Brugman and Puig, which we're going to need him to be this year. I still think Delgado just has, still a ways to go with his fitness before he's back to what we need him to be.
Yeah, I would agree there too. We did get to see two keepers in this game as well. Bond started off the game, and then we got to see McCarthy in the in the second half as well. I mean, both conceded a goal, so that is another focal point of this team is the goalkeeper battle, right? So that's another thing to keep an eye out. I think both goalkeepers did all okay, for those matches, and yeah, we'll see how these goalkeepers perform too. That's another good point to keep in there. But anyways, any other final points you want to talk about the St. Louis game, or should we move on? Should we move on? All right then. So that was the St. Louis game. 2-1, like I said, was the final score. So that was Saturday, and today, as of what we're recording right now, we did have another match against Charlotte FC. That game was a little different. It ended up 3-0. This is the first game of the Coachella Valley Invitational. So, yeah, 3-0 in this game. All 3 goals came in the second half. Yeah, not something that you're too proud of. Of course, it's preseason. Again, I think a lot of people have over-exaggerated with this loss, but at the same time, you're not too happy that it's a 3-0 loss. That's never a good thing. But yeah, we get a 3-0 loss in this one. Same thing like St. Louis. We started off with a lineup with a mixture of bench players and starters. We got to see Ricky Puig start his first preseason match as well. So yeah, there was that as well. And then, second half we ended off with the G2 and Academy kids. Overall for this game, how'd you feel about it? What were your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I would say this one was a lot more concerning for a couple of reasons. One, this time we actually saw Ricky Puig is obviously our best player, and just watching him today, I just felt like with the team, we were just kind of had the same problems as we did last year. Like Ricky Puig, he looked pretty good at some points, but then when the defense collapsed on him, really got on him, there was no options. And yeah, we get it. Some of our options aren't here right now. Like Gabriel Peck's doing his preseason currently in Brazil with the national team, which is really good for him. We don't have that DP in, and we don't have really another striker presence right now, especially if Joveljic up. But still, you saw some of the same problems. And another big problem of mine today that we did not have in the St. Louis game is some of our goals came from our first team players. Like it was their fault. Like when you saw 2 of Charlotte's goals, you saw that. I think it was the first one. Mavinga he kicked the air. Like seriously, it should have been an easy tackle, easy clearance. The dude kicked the air, and then on the second goal, you saw Mikovic. He passed it to the Charlotte player. A simple pass out of the back. Mikovic, a guy who we want to see on the first team, and maybe you can even argue can get a backup spot or even a starting spot if it goes great for him. He has a terrible pass to the Charlotte player, and then the free kick goal from Charlotte. That's just a good free kick. You can't do much about it. But our mistakes didn't come from G2 like in the St. Louis game. It was all Academy. Those were some first team players, and I even saw with our best starting lineup what we currently had at the start of the game. There is a lot of problems to be had.
Yeah, I mean, definitely some concern in this game for sure. When it came to the first half, though, first half was okay. It wasn't that bad. I think, again, it was a bit slow, people trying to find their rhythm, but you got to see, more of a connection in that game than the St. Louis. And then so to me, that was, the first half wasn't that bad. I think it was okay. The second half was, that's where it kind of just started going downhill. And like you said, first team players making mistakes. Again, I understand it's preseason. I understand people are trying to find their groove, but you can't let that happen. I mean, like we said, if it was G2 or the Academy players, makes sense. They're trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to, impress the coaching staff and stuff like that. Understandable. But if you're a player who's on the first team and even have the potential to start, that is a bit concerning. Not the end of the world, but still a bit concerning, to say the least. And yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know. Some people over exaggerated with the loss, but again, I can see the concerns. I can see why this was not something to be proud of. Of course, it's nothing to be proud of, but still though, can't happen. Hopefully that gets addressed, within practice and hopefully next game as well.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing with Galaxy fans that I'm finding kind of funny, though. Like, I feel like there's only 2 spectrums of it. There's the people that are like, the season's fucked, we're over, there's no room to improve, just call it over now. And then there's the people who's like, just preseason, nothing matters at all, not a single bit, it's completely irrelevant. You got to meet somewhere in the middle there, in my opinion. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, yeah, like, it's not over yet, we're not fucked, there's room to improve, there's always room to improve, we're still missing players, but when you see Mavinga kicking the fucking air, and he's one of our worst players last season, in the regular season, you're like, well, shit. And then when you hear Jalen Neal's going to be out probably for even longer, which I think will go into the regular season, you look at that and you see Mavinga playing like that and you're like, oh shit. And you see Mikovic playing like that. And when last year we had a goalkeeper problem with Bond, you're like, well, that fucking sucks. There's reasons to be concerned in the middle, but you shouldn't totally put it over the edge either.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely for sure. You always got to meet in the middle of it. I mean, like I said, is this a result that I'm not saying that like people shouldn't be upset about the result. It's like you should definitely be upset because a 3-0 loss is never good in any circumstances. Um, but at the same time, it's like I even had a conversation with my dad about this earlier, and he like I was watching a little bit of the replay of this game, and he was like, "Oh, so we're not good for the season. Like we're not even going to compete." I'm like, "Listen, relax. Like there's still a lot of ball to be played. There's still a lot of preseason to be played. But also, like you said, just again, the first player mistakes is a concern as well. And and especially defensively, we had 67 goals scored on us last year. I mean, that's terrible. And the fact that we've already had 4 in 2 matches is not a good thing either. So that's also another concern, right? So it's like, we can't have that. Or actually, not 4. It's 5 actually, right? Because they scored 2 and they scored 3 on this one. And then even if you count the 1 goal during the San Jose scrimmage, that's 6 goals in 3 games. So that's not a good thing. And defense was a problem last year. And if we're starting to see the defense being a problem in preseason, yeah, you should be concerned about that as well.
I mean, I think it is going to be a problem because what did we really do to strengthen it? You got John McCarthy, who, like, yeah, came up clutch for LAFC at one point, but when you look at him as a whole as a keeper, it's like, you know, average MLS keeper, maybe slightly below average, what I'd give him. And there's a reason he got benched last year for LAFC. He got taken out of the starting lineup, I think, around September, never saw the field again. So it's like, that doesn't really totally fix your goalkeeper problem. Yeah, you got Yamane. I think he's super promising and looks good so far, but Caligari was good for us. Like, we had a good right back and our defense was terrible a majority of the year. So replacing a good right back with for another good right back doesn't really move the needle one way or another. And the rest of it, it's kind of the same. Like, you got rid of Raheem Edwards for Johnny Nelson, which I think is like okay, but again, not a needle mover. And the rest of your defense under contract, you can't really do anything about it. And when you hear Jalen Neal is still really bothered by that injury, is probably not going to be available soon, it's like, you know, it's going to be a struggle for sure. We're going to need Gabriel Peck and Ricky Puig to be really good if we want to, be in some of these games.
Yeah, and depending as well who's that third DP, right? Like who
If we ever
knows who
get
we
that,
get.
seriously.
Yeah, if we ever get that, that which we'll talk about some of the rumors that have popped up, but yeah, depending who's that third DP as well, you never know what the Galaxy could look like. But that's also another thing too. It's like there's still things that like the team could still change within these next few weeks. So it's like that's why it's also not the end of the world, right? Because it's like you can still add players and things like
Well, a
that
few
to
months even. I
help
think
this
the
team.
window closes in April. I think we got like Julian Alde last year went in like April, so it could change at the last minute too. It's not even the next few weeks. There's a window here, but we gotta start to see things happening after a while, or else it's just like it's not gonna work.
Well, yeah, exactly, for sure, and especially with the team wanting to have their players before the season starts. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, defensively hasn't been that great preseason, and that is a concern as well. But anyways, I guess we can move on a little bit into the players. How'd you feel about the players? Anybody that stood out to you in this game?
Yeah, like I said, Edwin Cedillo was really good in that St. Louis game. I was very impressed. This Charlotte game was super rough for him. A lot of bad turnovers and bad spots, not really connecting passes. Not a good game for him at all. I think Ricky Pooch looked all right when he came on. I was pretty impressed. He made some good things happen. The defense kind of collapsed on him, and he didn't really have any help, which I thought was like not great. But I mean, what can you really expect when we don't have a majority of our front three here, or really any of it? So those are two guys I kind of thought about. And I like Johnny Nelson. Johnny Nelson was okay. He did the job. I think he's better than Edwards and Gasper. It's kind of one of our better backup defenders we've had in a while. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. But in terms of a lot of other guys, it's like, yeah, pretty forgettable. Well, I'll say Diego Fagundes was good too. He put in some effort. But other than those guys, pretty forgettable for everybody else.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I was going to mention Diego Fagundes. Yeah, he seemed pretty good in this game. Johnny Nelson, again, like you said, was a pretty good standout as well. I saw some pretty good things out of him from this game. And Ricky Puig, he was Ricky Puig. I guess he saw some good things about him. Didn't play the whole first half, which is pretty interesting. But I guess since he's still somewhat coming off from his injury or trying to get him to 100%, I understand why he didn't play the first the full first half, or just the full game in general. But, yeah, like other than that, it was pretty forgettable. Like, I don't think there was really much that the Galaxy offered from that game. And especially what can you offer after a 3-0 loss, right? Like, really, like, I don't think not much people had offered in that game.
Here's another discussion I have too. Like Miguel Berry is not an MLS backup caliber striker. I'm sorry, he's just not. Like I think he's our new Preston Judd, our third string striker. The occasional 2 to 3 guys a year. You occasionally start him like 2, 3 times a year, maybe in competitions. But he's not a guy that's supposed to be like that Dan Joveljic role in that backup role. Like I still feel like this window, even if the Galaxy want to be successful, we need a TAM level number 9 because it seems like that DP spot is going to the winger no matter what, and we're not going to do anything about that. But the TAM spot that we got from Tyler Boyd, dude, we need a striker there for sure, and I think it has to come this window. If not this window, absolutely the summer. But I think the summer it might even be too late because at the striker position right now, simply put, we're just very weak. But we haven't seen Joveljic yet, but I'm just not very confident right now.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and also Miguel Berry. A lot of people, some people kind of hype him up, and I'm just like, I don't know how you can hype up Miguel Berry
That
right
was
now.
just a joke, though. The one San Jose preseason goal, the apology form. I laughed at it, but it's obviously not a true thing when you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even like. I don't know. It's just funny to me. Galaxy fans could be funny sometimes. I'll just say that. But still, regardless, yeah, I agree. You know, offensively and especially in the striker position, we definitely need help. Which is why I said I think last episode if we weren't going to bring a DP level number 9, it's like then why didn't you keep somebody like again a Preston Judd or a Billy Sharp more likely, right, to have him as the backup to Joveljic? Like that wouldn't have been a bad thing. I don't think that would have been much of a concern right now. But still, though, yeah, I agree. It's like you gotta do something about that position because who knows what Joveljic is going to look like going into this season. You just never know. But even if Joveljic was like bounce back season, comeback season, he's scoring like goals left and right, I still think you need a solid backup number 9 after that as well. So I definitely agree with that as well. But any other points you had for this game, players or just the game in general?
No, I mean, our defense, I mean, that was rough for sure. Like, the St. Louis game, I didn't really react that much. I didn't really care for it that much. It just kind of is what it is. But this game, I'm significantly more concerned because that was Mavinga and that was Mikovic making those terrible mistakes. And it's like, those are guys that are supposed to be part of our team this year. And I get it, it's preseason, everyone's kind of rusty. But, I mean, still, you could say the same for Charlotte. Like, they were probably the same way. So if a mistake happens, and you have to judge it how it is. And Mavinga's a guy that, he can make those mistakes. And we saw him make one today, and that's just not a good sign for us.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully they start getting their stuff going. Hopefully they get their mojo going for preseason. But yeah, we'll see what happens for the next game against I believe it's Austin that we have for Sunday. So yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But again, as well, like let's not overreact with these preseason losses as well. Again, you could be upset about them, but at the end of the day, if you want to say, for the viewers who are watching, if you want to say it with me, it's just preseason. But again, we'll see what happens. Hopefully they play better within the next few games or so. But yeah, I think we can move on now from these recaps. We can talk about well, I mean, I guess we already talked about this move last week or our last episode with Gabriel Peck, but that gets officially announced last week. He's on a 5-year deal to the end of 2028. So we have Gabriel Peck. He's announced. Don't know when he's going to come in. Of course, he has to get his visa, everything like that. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. I think he's already done with the Brazilian pre-Olympic squad, right? If I recall. Is he still playing some games there with them?
I think they have one more game. I could be wrong. I'm not a huge follower of their national team, but I know they have another game on the schedule that he's going to participate in.
Okay, so I'm assuming if that's his last game, that's most likely when he'll come over here.
Which is good because that's his preseason, though. Like, he doesn't have to have preseason year. He's training with them. He's getting fit with them. So it's not like he's going to come into the Galaxy just, like, needing a lot of work over the couple weeks. He's going to be ready to go, probably.
Yeah, probably just needs help with the chemistry. Obviously, new teammates, new team, and new culture and stuff like that. So that's basically what he's going to have to deal with. But yeah, Gabriel Peck, that gets officially announced. Let's talk a little bit about rumors. There was a couple rumors that happened during our last episode. The big one being that the Galaxy sent a new bid to Talleres for Ramon Sosa. I believe this was a $12.5 million bid. And I guess Talleres is reportedly more likely to try to find a deal with the Galaxy, try to move on from Sosa again, from reports. But yeah, Galaxy sent another bid for Sosa, which we thought this was not going to happen, or at least this was going to be unlikely to happen, or in some sort of way. But yeah, Ramon Sosa's name gets popped up again, and yeah, how'd you feel about that when you heard the news again for Ramon Sosa?
Yeah, I was surprised because after our $10.5 million offer got rejected, I thought we were just going to move on. But then we submitted a $12.5 million one, and it immediately gets rejected too, which is unfortunate. But apparently, the asking price is around 15 million. So, I mean, do we meet that asking price? Do we not? We have some decisions to make there. Personally, I mean, if you really believe in Ramon Sosa, I don't think you should let $3 million, especially when you're the Galaxy who had a transfer ban last year. So you should have more money available considering you spent basically nothing in the summer. You shouldn't let $3 million kind of hold a deal back if you really want to bring him in. But I mean, we gotta wait and see what happens. If $15 million is the asking price, it is what it is. He would be a great DP for sure. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen there. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think he'd be a good DP, but we gotta wait and see if the Galaxy are willing to go a little bit up the ladder with the millions of dollars.
Yeah, and also let's not forget that technically it's not dead, but Joseph Painstill is still on the table for the Galaxy. It's still a
That
possibility.
is so annoying, dude. Honestly,
Yeah,
I'm so tired
yeah.
of that now.
So the point is, the Galaxy are trying to. It's either one or the other. So they have their targets. So it's just a matter of who's going to pay or who's going to accept the Galaxy's offer. Again, a lot of people, are kind of mixed about it. It's like, oh, do you go for Sosa or will you be fine with Paint still? Some people are saying Paint still might not be 100% if he comes here, or like mentally, he's not going to take it as
That's my
serious.
concern. Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
concern.
so that's a concern for Paint still, but you still see the numbers and you're like, okay, that's still a good DP level player. Again, Ramon Sosa also a good DP level player, but he's also kind of focused on Talleres and what's happening there until something happens. So, a lot of people are mixed about it, but of course, we still have two options for the winger position, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I don't know. Who would you rather prefer if it was between Paint still and Sosa?
Yeah, I put this on my story actually, and the vote one was Sosa, and I actually agreed with it on another story. I said my vote was Sosa too, and I just think that there's more of a motivation factor for him to come to MLS. Like, I think he could eventually make the move to Europe, even though he is kind of like 24 years old, that age where he could make the jump already. But he could come to MLS, get his stock up, go to Europe, and I think he would just be more motivated. I think with Paint still more, you'd kind of just drag him into MLS. Like, Paint still has stated before his intentions are the Premier League and La Liga. I think he wants to stay playing Champions League football. He wants to stay in Europe. He's very happy at Genk. So if you brought him to MLS, it's kind of just like, he really had no other options. And in a sense, he would kind of be like discouraged because he didn't get what he wanted, which was a top five league in Europe. So I just think his motive will go down. He won't have the same motivation as Sosa would have. He would still cost a similar amount of money too. Like, what would it be, like $11 million to 15? Not that big of a difference. Well, it is a difference, but still in football, like millions are not a big difference, especially when you have a rich ownership, which the Galaxy do. But yeah, I prefer Sosa. I just think the motivation factor is there, and I think he's on the up where Payne still is kind of just in his prime already. So I like the Sosa prospect more.
Yeah, I mean, both sound pretty good. Again, I think with Paint still, it is just more of the motivation factor on that aspect, which could be a big thing, right? We've seen a lot of players come in here and not take, the Galaxy or MLS in general seriously, and even if they have the qualities, we saw it with Douglas Costa. We saw he had a good season, but in last or when he started, it was just like he didn't take it serious. Took breaks, took vacations on suspensions and stuff like that. And not saying Paint still is going to be the same thing, but still, though, you just never know with people's motivations and how they feel. But if they have the right motivation, I mean, that's all that matters. Because for both players, the talent is there.
I just don't think Payne still wants MLS though. Like, I think he's very focused on Europe and the Champions League or the Premier League, La Liga, top five league. He just doesn't really want to come to MLS unless he really just has no other options in those leagues.
Also, let's not forget he's a musician. He dropped a single actually
He did, yeah, I saw
during
that.
during his during the past couple of weeks. So he's a musician too. So he has other options as well other than than football. So it's like you never know what happens. But again, both are good options. It's just we'll see which deal gets done as well.
Who would you prefer?
I still would probably prefer Sosa. I just like him more. I think he's more not a complete player, but I just like more from what I see
I think
from
he fits
him.
our style of play better. Very
Yeah,
technical too, and can get our players involved better. I think he's a good fit for us if we could
yeah,
get him, which I
yeah.
don't think we will because he's worth a lot of money. But we'll
Yeah. I
see.
mean, it's tough, but hey, the Galaxy are trying. They're not afraid to spend, and they're not afraid to send some offers. So yeah, we'll see what happens. With those two. There was another rumor that popped up. This was actually a striker rumor. the Galaxy were rumored or interested. Uh, uh, they were rumored to be interested in 26-year-old Spaniard Rafa Mir. He is currently with Sevilla. He had a deal to go to Valencia. That was going to happen, but it fell through right when the window closed, and then that's when the rumor of him possibly coming to MLS and possibly coming to MLS or possibly coming to the Galaxy, was an option. Supposedly he's okay with that if there's a deal that happens. But yeah, we finally get a striker rumor, and we said it last episode that we hadn't had any, despite just despite with what we've seen so far with their strikers, but now we do get one. Not 100% of this is true. It is more of a rumor than it is a report. But how do you feel about this one, if it is true or if the Galaxy are interested?
Yeah, like you said it yourself. I don't know how true the rumor is. It came from a questionable source, a journalist who had a private account. Apparently, the Galaxy sent in an offer too per that journalist. So, I mean, I don't know. There's no real way of knowing. We're not there. But if it was true and he did get accepted and came here, I think it would be a really good signing. He makes 800K a year, so he would be a TAM level player, not a DP player, which I think is good. He scored 10 plus goals in La Liga before, which is good. He's struggling right now, but I don't think he really wants to be in Sevilla. Obviously, they had a deal for him to go to Valencia. That fell apart on deadline day, so maybe he's still looking for other options. There was a rumor actually I saw about Turkey being interested in him, a team from Turkey. So we'll see if he goes there. I mean, he has other options too, but it seems like he's going to depart the club at some point anyway, so maybe for an option, I think it's a good signing. Like I said, the Galaxy really need a number 9, a veteran number 9. He's a good number 9. He scored 10 plus goals in the top 5 league before. I think he wouldn't be an amazing player, but he would be a good player to bring in, a very solid guy. And yeah, I'd like him on our team for sure, but I don't really think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, right now he hasn't had that great of a season, but in general, Sevilla hasn't had a great of a season anyways. They're fighting for relegation, really. Hopefully they don't get relegated. So yeah, Sevilla right now is just not that good of a team anyways. So if this seems like a player that could possibly be a good player in MLS, like if he has the right mindset, like we said before, if he has the right mindset, and like you said, he's scored 10 goals before in a top 5 European league, so that's a good thing. Um, and just in general, like I think, it could be a signing where like if he tries here, he could, be a good player. Maybe a change of scenery would help him a lot, even if it's in MLS. So, we'll see what happens. Again, it is more of a rumor than it is a report, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, Spanish striker with Ricky Puig, that'd be probably a good connection.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't be a bad connection. I think he was also part of the Spain U23s at one point. I don't know exactly
He might
for
have been, yeah.
yeah, I don't know exactly if he played for like a tournament or anything, but he did participate with their U23 team. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. I think I'm missing another rumor. I don't know if I am, unless you know.
Yeah, you're missing one, the Usman Berkey rumor for $10 million that apparently got rejected, which I don't really believe is true. It came from a Serbian media outlet that looked very questionable. It said that the Galaxy offered $10 million for Usman Berkey, which, if you follow me, you saw my story, I laughed at that because there's no way a team would offer $10 million for Usman Berkey, and even funnier, there's no way a team would reject $10 million for Usman Berkey. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a decent player. Like, he's all right. I'd say he's probably similar to Grant Sear, a little bit better probably, but he's not worth $10 million at all. I'd say he's like a $3-4 million player probably. $10 million is insane. It's insane if somebody offered it. It's insane if they rejected it, and I just have no way of believing that's actually true. And I
Yeah,
hope it's not true, because if the Galaxy offered $10 million, that's pretty desperate and pretty concerning, and that's not who you should be spending $10 million on.
yeah, we talked about it, right? That the Galaxy don't look desperate, and if that was actually true, it's like, maybe their desperateness is still there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was a true report or not, but I did see that, and I think that was kind of interesting to say the least. But yeah, that was another rumor as well. But yeah, I mean, other than those rumors, we haven't really heard much. We haven't really heard anything that's like, I guess imminent or anything that could possibly happen. So I don't know. Like, is that a concern as well? These are just more reports or slash rumors than there is like I guess a possibility of some of these players coming here.
Well, I think the third DP spot is what they're most trying to fill before the season, which makes sense. It's a really big priority and a really big part of our team. But it's tough, though, because, like, the Painstill situation is just very annoying. It's like, at this point, if you're the Galaxy and you're his representatives, it's like, dude, are you in or out of this? Like, do you just completely not want to come? Or are you open to coming to MLS? Because you kind of see with him, he's like, yeah, if the money is right, I could come, but I'm also happy at Genk. I want to play in a top five league, but if the offers aren't coming, I could go. So it's like, dude, at which point, like, which way are you in? Are you in or are you out of this? We got to have some sort of direction at some point. And when were we interested in Payne? Still probably like late December. We're almost in mid-February in a week. It's been like nearly 2 months of this going on. We just got to find some direction at some point. And for Sosa, like, I mean, we don't know if it's $15 million. That's what got reported. But if you're the Galaxy, if you really believe in Sosa, I don't think you should let $3 million be the difference between getting him and not getting him. If you believe in him that much,
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Um, you know, Galaxy aren't. I don't think money's the issue. It's just a matter of
it shouldn't be.
I guess
I mean,
yeah,
AEG has a lot of money.
yeah. Money's not the issue. I think it's just trying to find the right deal. But I don't know. I think it is just still a little concerning that it's not like we're not hearing anything of like something imminent or something just like a big possibility of happening. So I think it's the most annoying part about it. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. A lot of things could happen within these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, look, it just feels like right now we're kind of behind schedule on a lot of things. Like, I feel like even with injuries in our preseason camp, like when MLS Cup ended and we were talking to each other with Caleb, like we kind of had the expectation, you and I, that by preseason, by right now, we'd have everybody back. We'd have Ricky Pooch being here for the first preseason game. We'd have Brugman on the field. We'd have Costanos on the field. Most concerningly, we'd have Neil on the field, and his injury is very concerning right now. You thought we'd have all these guys on the field, but you look at it right now, it's like, we're just an incomplete team. And you thought by like right now, like after we signed Peck, like, all right, by now, like the third DP should come. We should be wrapping this up. It's like it could be anybody right now. We don't even know. It just feels like the club right now, dude, not all their fault. Like some of these are just unfortunate circumstances, but it feels like we're kind of behind schedule right now to where we should be, which happens sometimes, but we've got to try to pick it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little behind schedule. I can see that. But again, when it comes to the injured players like Brugman, like I said, it's like I would rather have them take a little bit of their time, especially with these first few preseason games. Like they don't really have to play these first few preseason games. Like they can play these next three or the last two, and I think they'll find a way to get back into rhythm. But so to me, that's not much of a concern. I think it's just more of a concern of getting players in. Like the injured players, like I can see why that's a little bit of a holdup. You just want them to be at 100%. But when it comes to these players that we want to sign and we want to bring in, that's a little bit more concerning. And Jalen Neal's injury is very concerning, actually. I did not expect him to be still injured. Like I thought this would have been over with, like, at least maybe a month or so ago, but it just keeps getting worse, and that is concerning, and he's a young player. I just hope that doesn't really affect him too much, for his career. But yeah, I mean, I don't know though, but I mean, when it comes to the injured players, not too concerned about it. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with like we said, a lot of things could happen with these next couple of weeks. So we'll see.
I will say I do really want Ramon Sosa here because I've been watching a lot of highlights in some of his games. He is really good. Like I know the asking price is high, but there's a reason the asking price is high. I think he would be a really good fit on our team, especially if we had a good number 9 up top. That'd be a really good attack to go into a season with.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they get that deal done because I would want Sosa too. Like I think he's a very good player, and it's just having a player like that caliber come to the Galaxy and just in general MLS is. It's a big deal. It's a win for everybody, in my opinion. So, hopefully they get that deal done. And like you said, if they really believe in Sosa, then maybe 15 million is worth the asking or is worth the buying, for that player. So, we'll see. But anyways, I think that's it for the rumors. I don't think I'm missing anything else. So I guess we can move on. There was a bit of Galaxy news that happened in the week. Leagues Cup. That's of course the controversial tournament that happened last year, or at least last year's was very controversial, but Leagues Cup is back this year. Galaxy draw with a group with San Jose and Chivas for the Leagues Cup. And, normally I don't think rigging in sports is real. Like, I just don't think, or like maybe in a few instances you could be like, oh, that's rigged. Like, okay, like, rigging in sports or script writers or whatever. Like, I think it's just a bunch of BS, right? But when you look at the Leagues Cup, it's like sometimes it makes you believe if rigging and, script writing is true. Because how convenient that we get Chivas and San Jose, when Chivas just got two players who played for those two other teams last season, and then they get to come back, and then obviously Chicharito, Kate Cowell going to Chivas, they come back to their former teams and they get to play each other and stuff like that. Like, yeah. But anyways, we get drawn in with those teams for Leagues Cup. Yet to be announced when we play them, but yeah, how do you feel about the Leagues Cup drawing? How do you feel about going up against San Jose and Chivas?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say Leagues Cup was controversial last season. I would just say it wasn't structured very well. Like in my opinion, for a tournament, like I think both countries need to host, just like in the CONCACAF Champions League. Like all the games aren't played in the USA, and they're not all played in Mexico either. You got to have a balance there somewhere. Like you got to reward the better teams in Mexico with a home game. That's kind of my opinion on it, which is why I like the Champions League a lot. I think it really determines like the real winner between the two countries. So I would say that. But in terms of the Leagues Cup group, I mean, it's a tough group, you know. We got Chivas, who's obviously a good team. They're a big club in Mexico. With Chicharito, with Kikau, obviously your team, so that's going to be kind of funny to watch both of them play. And then you got
Mm-hmm.
San Jose, a rivalry game. You know, those are always tough. They're going to want to beat us. We're going to want to beat them to knock each other out of the tournament. So, yeah, Leagues Cup, it's always tough, but hopefully we can do better than we did last year. I think that's the goal right now.
Yeah, definitely. It's got to be the goal to do better than last year. But we talked about this a couple episodes ago with when we talked about the U.S. Open, and we said that the Leagues Cup is built for entertainment, right? And obviously,
Yeah.
this group is going to be pretty entertaining. I mean, against Chivas, a pretty well known team, and also my favorite Mexican team. So it is going to be difficult for me to try to go for somebody in this match. I know for the last match when we played them for the showcase, I went for Galaxy just because they were the home team and I had to cover for them. But like this is an actual competition, it actually means something. So it might be difficult for me trying to choose somebody in this one. Might have to go neutral to be honest. But yeah, we go with Chivas and then we go against San Jose, which obviously, rivalry, Cali Clasico, all that good stuff, right? So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be an entertaining group. It's gonna be a very tough group considering who we got, but we'll just see what happens there because, it should be fun to be honest for both sides.
That's pretty funny though. Your two clubs meet each other in tournaments. Like the only way my two clubs can meet each other is in the Club World Cup. That's the only way they'll ever play each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like Galaxy's never playing Napoli unless it's
No.
the Clubs World Cup, unless it's a friendly or a Clubs World Cup. Like that's
I
literally
would
the
love a
only.
friendly. I would love to see a friendly sometime, but I don't think that's gonna
If
happen.
if that were to happen, who would you go for? It would just be neutral.
Neutral. Definitely
Neutral.
neutral.
Yeah,
I care
definitely.
about them both a lot, and I get up for every game and watch every game and care about every game. So I don't know. I couldn't really pick a side there.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be tough for me to choose between Galaxy and Chivas. I know they're technically, it's gonna be a home game. Well, it's at home for the Galaxy. It's most likely going to be a home game for Chivas if we're going to be very realistic here. But like it's going to be tough to see who I choose there. But obviously, may the best team win, and it's going to be interesting seeing Chicharito back here. Playing at the digs again.
I mean, yeah, that's concerning. Leon last year was bad enough. It was kind of a takeover in itself. Chivas is probably going to be even worse. If I'm going to go to that game, I'm probably going to sit in the supporter section so I don't have to be surrounded by opposing fans like I was last time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, it's going to be red. A lot of red in there. Definitely a lot of red in that stadium
I
for
mean, it'd be like that
whenever we play
anywhere,
them.
though, really. Like, I even saw last year in Kansas City, it was mostly red, too. So they just have
Yeah,
a big fan base around there. Same for Club
yeah.
America. I know they traveled really well, too. So, I mean, when you're a big club, that's kind of just what you bring, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's like not to mention it's not even just the traveling fans; it's also the fans within that city as well that are fans of those clubs. And obviously, being in LA, having a big Mexican population and Chivas being one of the big Mexican teams, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of Chivas fans there. I'm not gonna lie, but hopefully Galaxy fans also show out. Like, I mean, I would love to see it be 50-50, but realistically, that's just not going to be the case. It's going to be a takeover again. For that game for sure. Um, but yeah, that's one Galaxy news. I don't think there was anything else Galaxy news related. I guess the new home jersey got leaked. Apparently, that's going to get released next week. So there's that to look forward to. Which what are your thoughts about actually the new jersey? Because I don't know how I feel about it. It looks good, but it's kind of like I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's not great, honestly. I haven't liked one of our home kits in a while. They're just very, I don't know, kind of boring, honestly. They're just white with the sash, I guess,
Yeah, the
has the
sash
badge on it.
returns. Yeah, the
The
sash
white
returns.
socks. Yeah, it's like a C, I guess. If you had to grade it on a scale, just a C. It's just like it's passable. It looks fine. I'll probably buy it, but I don't love it. It is what it
Yeah,
is. I like our
yeah. I
away
mean,
jerseys a lot more.
Yeah, the white jerseys definitely look good. But yeah, the New Jersey, like, yeah, there's some good aspects to it, but I think I just have to like actually see it or like see better pictures of it until I can make my final decision. But yeah, New Jersey should be coming out soon, and I don't know. I don't know if I'll buy it. I do need a white jersey. I only have one, and it doesn't even fit me anymore. So I got to get a new white jersey. So maybe I'll get this one. But yeah, that's it for Galaxy News. I guess we could now talk about our preview that we have coming up for Sunday. Like I said, at Galaxy will face Austin FC on Super Bowl Sunday for their second match at the Coachella Valley Invitational. Um, I don't know what to expect from this game. I'm assuming it might still be again a mixture of starters and bench, but maybe we might see more starters in this game. Maybe we start seeing a transition of what this squad could look like going into week one. But yeah, how do you feel about this game going up against Austin?
Yeah, probably more the same that we saw the first two games. Closer to that than we're going to see it hopefully at the end of the preseason. But yeah, I think Jovic should be back, so that should be interesting. We get to watch Jovic for the first time preseason, see if he's done anything. I think Aguirre's coming back. I even heard Costas has a chance of coming back. Greg Vanny said that Brigman was still a week away, so he's not playing this Sunday. But I don't know, maybe we can see like instead of a half or 30 minutes stars, maybe 60 minutes of stars would be good. I don't know. But we gotta wait and see. Austin has some good players. They can do some things. So I don't know. Hopefully it's a good game, and hopefully we can get our first win of the preseason.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it'd be nice to get a win for preseason. So we'll see. And like I said, it's on Super Bowl Sunday, so you get to watch, a sporting game before the big event that day. So that's pretty good to see. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, we win that game. Hopefully, we get to see more starters. Maybe Ricky plays, at least a half of this time, and we get to see some players that we haven't seen yet. So yeah, I mean, should be interesting. But yeah, again, I mean, it's preseason. We got to see how in shape these guys are, and hopefully, they're getting there and they're getting their mojo going. They're getting their groove, and we win a game. So that's all I can expect for Austin. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else more to say for that preview, unless you had anything else to say. No, all right then. So yeah, I guess that's it for the episode. I don't really have anything else to say for you know, regarding the Galaxy. So yeah, I guess we could end it here. If you want to follow us on social media, go follow me at Insider Galaxy on Instagram and on X. Go follow LA Galaxy Central on Instagram. So go follow the social medias. And any question or anything you want to say to the listeners before we go?
Yeah, hopefully we get healthier and get some new players in and go on from there.
Yeah, hopefully. One thing I actually did want to say before we go, we've had a little bit of a spike when it comes to viewers and people watching the show and stuff. Our last episode actually had 143 viewers, which actually is the record right now for the most views. So we were getting averaging a good amount of people. We were getting like 50, 60, but we got 143, which was actually that's actually pretty good, and especially this is our, we haven't really had, we haven't even done a full year of video. So it's like, we're still kind of growing on the video side, but the fact that, we're having a little bit of a spike in viewership with the videos and stuff like that, we definitely do appreciate it. I mean, when I look at it, I always think about when it comes to views, it's like if we were to have like our podcast in a room and like 143 people showed up, like that's pretty good. Like when you think about it, that's a pretty big crowd. So that's always the mindset I always have. So, if you're new here, if you're an OG, I mean, thank you for the support, and hopefully, more of you guys come in here and you guys, share the podcast around and things like that, because we want to keep growing. We want to keep this thing going. And even because the more people that come here, the more people who appreciate it, the better we'll, come here and take it more serious. Not that we're saying that we don't take it serious, but we'll definitely keep improving the podcast even more.
Yeah, honestly, for my page and this podcast, like I don't even really pay attention to the followers and the views that much. I just do this because I just like talking about the Galaxy. Like before even I had my account or I did this podcast, I was kind of doing the same thing anyways. I was thinking about the Galaxy a lot, watching the games a lot, watching other games, even thinking about those games. So it's like, I don't know, this is just kind of normal for me talking about it and I really enjoy it. And it's good we're growing. Hopefully we continue to grow.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And like I always say after every episode, be a friend, tell a friend about the podcast, right?
Exactly, yeah.
The more people that get to come in here and listen, like, that's a good thing for us. And the more people that come in here, with the more we'll do this, and the better we'll be at it. So can't thank you guys enough for the support. But yeah, be a friend, tell a friend about the podcast, whenever you're listening to this podcast. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day, rest of your night, whenever you're listening to this. So yeah, appreciate you all, and G's up.
7 words.